Hi, I'm Anna Durand, and I'm here to chat with, well, it's supposed to be two of the narrators for A Novel Secret, but we're waiting for Evelyn Rose to get here. But Aaron Shedlock and I will chat in the meantime.
That's me.
So this is A Novel Secret is the third Hot Brits, Hot Scots, Au Naturel crossover book. And the other two, this is the one we're talking about today. Oh, there she is.
We have
Hi,
another
Evelyn.
attendee. Hello, Evelyn.
Is my mic working? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
you
I
hear
can
me?
hear
Beautiful
you.
accent.
Oh,
Yes.
I can hear you. Okay, good. So I was just introducing everyone to this is the book that we will be talking about today. And it's the third crossover book that I've done. This is the first one, Brit versus Scott. And I don't have a picture. I lost my copy of the middle one. So here we go. I hold up. That's it. The American Wives
Oh,
Club.
it's on your phone. Nice.
So the first two audiobooks were narrated by Shane East, Stella Hunter, and Zachary Weber. And this one will be featuring Aaron Shedlock, Evelyn Rose, and Mackenzie Cartwright. So welcome, Evelyn. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you.
It's great to chat with you
Thank you.
today.
It is. It's going to be
Great to be here. Yes.
And in fact, I have great news for everyone. Wednesday, I will receive the audio files for this audiobook, so I will get to listen to them, and it won't be very long before everyone else can hear them. So that's exciting news. I'm always excited to listen to my newest audiobook.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to hear this one,
yeah.
Especially since Evelyn is new to my writing world, so it's always fun to have a new narrator come in.
Ooh, that is fun. I just got my corrections back, I think yesterday or the day before, so my portion of it will be completely finished as soon as we get done here. I go and record those.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Ditto.
Yeah. I have a quick question. I have to ask this. I asked you this in private before, but you wouldn't answer because you were being stubborn.
Mysterious author. That's what.
Yes. How did you get into doing the Hot Scots and the Hot Brits, and what drew you to the Isles?
Well, my family name is Scottish, and my dad was always very proud of our Scottish ancestry. I actually have some on my mom's side too. So I thought, well, I'll write a Scottish historical romance, but that takes a lot of research, and I got tired of waiting. So I said, well, I'll make a contemporary romance with a Scottish hero. And that's how Dangerous in a Kilt was born. And it became one of my most popular series. The other most popular is the Hot Brits series, which I started during the pandemic in 2020. And it was first novellas and then became novels. So that's the Hot Brits series on there, which came about just because I thought, well, I got Hot Scots, so why not Hot Brits? Everyone likes British men's voices in audiobooks, so there you go. There's that
Makes
one.
Sense. I love it. I love it. That's fabulous.
The Au Naturel series is actually two sister series now. That got a little bit of a longer explanation for that. It's about nudist resorts. Naughty nudists.
I dig it.
That's a great the original idea came about with a conversation I had with my mom back in 2019. And we were just reminiscing about when we lived in Texas. And there was that weird place we used to drive by, when I was a teenager. My mom and dad and I would be driving down the road. What is that place with this thick wooden fence that goes all the way around? You can't see anything, but there's this gap underneath. And my mom would always say, that's a nudist resort. Can't you see feet under there?
A bunch of bare feet.
And then it turned out later on there was a newspaper reporter who went there and talked to the people at the nudist resort.
Yeah.
So she was right. Mom is always right about these things.
Yeah.
So then we were talking about it years later, 2019, and we started making jokes about, the nudist resort. And I said, well, maybe I should write a book about a nudist resort. And it was a joke at the time. But then later I thought, why not? Something different, something, to interest people, because it's not something you see all the time in romance novels.
Yeah. I've done almost 500 books. Not one of them has been inside of a nudist resort. And it seems like that's an obvious backdrop. That's a great location for a romance story.
And you wouldn't believe it, but I actually researched nudism. You can actually research because they have rules, and I used some of the rules.
Oh,
or how to behave at a nudist resort.
yeah.
It was actually kind of interesting in a strange way that they
Yeah.
have these rules.
I guess there kind of has to be rules.
Right.
Yeah. If you're gonna be there, you have to be nude. That should be the first
Right.
rule.
That should be the
No one's
first
allowed to walk. Yeah, that should be the first rule. I have a funny nudist story, or a resort story. My uncle he worked for a company that he maintained fire extinguishers for Tampa Bay, and there was a new client that they had, so we went to go check on their fire extinguishers, replace anything, and he said it had a funny name, but nothing said nudist resort about it. It was just the name of like a resort. So he figured he'd go in there. Knew that. He went to the front desk. There was a guy sitting there. Didn't have a shirt on, but it was kind of like, it was Florida, so that's pretty common at a resort for for guys to walk around without shirts on. And the guy gave him a map of the place, which had all the stuff and like where all the fire extinguishers were. And he starts walking around. He's doing his thing. He finally goes outside and he sees these people playing volleyball. And he was like, my uncle he's Italian. He's from up in New York, so he's very expressive with his storytelling. It's a lot of hands and this. And he's like, so I look over, I see a lot of boobs. And then I see a lot of guys fully naked. You wouldn't believe it. So I look around. He looks around and he sees, I'm in a nudist resort. I can't believe it. So that's the end of that story. But it was really funny the way that he told it. Just completely unexpected. Nobody told him. Nobody warned him. He just was walking around doing his job, and I was like, well, it was a retirement like nudist resort though. That was the funnier part of the story because everyone was retired and older. So,
I do feel like that's a theme with nudist resorts and beaches. There's a nudist beach really close to where I live, and it's like you can go there. You don't have to be nude when you go there. I've been there, and it's mainly older people.
Is it? Yeah.
But yeah. So
I haven't been to one.
That's interesting.
We have two here in Florida, or St. Pete Beach. We have two. They're very secluded though. I've never been.
Yeah.
Not my jam.
I've only driven past one.
With the fence up.
Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful beach. Like the one near where I live is beautiful. And you can go there. You don't have to be nude, but you have to be respectful. And it is one of the best beaches. So I've been down there with my family, with my little kids. And it's interesting.
What I always wondered about was this was in Texas, where my family lived, where there was that nudist resort. In Texas, you get lots of mosquitoes and snakes and killer bees and
scorpions. Don't forget the scorpions. I lived in Texas.
Scorpions.
Ouch.
And these people are walking around with no shoes on even.
Not just no shoes. Yeah, it's dangerous. It's a hazard.
Yes.
Somebody said embrace the, where did I just missed that?
Yeah.
Embrace the openness. Openness of it all.
Well, I've embraced it in fictional ways.
Even better.
Yes.
And the
Yours
first
sounds like a far more interesting place to go to.
Yeah, the original Au Naturel trilogy was at a family-friendly nudist resort in rural Oregon. But the one that I started up this year, Au Naturel Nights, takes place on a naughty island in the South Pacific where there are no rules.
Oh, wow.
No rules. Yes, I remember that in them saying there are no rules.
Yeah. So that makes it spicier and fun to write too. And some of the characters from that first book in that series, which came out in January, are in A Novel Secret. They had a little guest appearance.
Oh, really?
Appearance.
Yes. James and Holly.
Okay.
Yeah. Little guest appearance in a...
Yeah. And in the audiobook of the first book, it was Shane East and Aaron Mallon did the narration for that one.
Oh, that's a good
Natural
combo.
Obsession.
That is a good combination.
Yeah.
They were great together. Fantastic. Yeah.
So what got you started using Shane East? Because I know he's in a lot of your books, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, back in 2019, I had an audiobook that was being done through ACX, and the woman narrator had done her part, but the man narrator, something came up and it just didn't work out for him to do that one.
Right.
Because he had done a couple previous ones. And so I started looking around, and I hunted through ACX, and I was like, oh, it's so hard to find men who will do Scottish accents, because this was one of the hot Scots books. Insatiable in a Kilt, which was the 6th book. And I just kept hunting and hunting. I finally gave them. I hunted the internet, and I came across romancenarrators.com.
Oh, that makes sense. That
website.
Yeah.
And is it Amy? I'm gonna get her name wrong if I say it. Who runs that website? I emailed her, and she gave me several.
Amy Landon. Yeah.
Amy Landon.
Yeah.
I knew it before you asked me the question, and then it just.
That's what happens with the brain.
Anyway, she was great. She gave me several recommendations for men who could do Scottish accents, and I saw Shane East, and I had recently listened to an audiobook by another author that he had narrated, and I thought, that would be good. I liked his voice, so I contacted him with the email address she had given me, and we started talking about it, and he wound up co-narrating Insatiable in a Kilt. And since then, he's done quite a few audiobooks for me.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
He does do a good Scottish accent.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got that nice growlly.
Yes, everybody loves the growly.
Scottish growl to it,
Yes. Audiobook fans love the growly stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Which is also why I like to have John Hartley narrate for me too, because he's got that good growly voice too.
Yeah.
If I want somebody who's really growly and nasty, he's like he's the best one.
Which is so funny because he's not.
Yeah. There's another one, Aidan Snow. Aidan Snow has a very deep. He has a very, very, very deep and dark tone voice, very baritone. Yeah.
Good for the mafias.
Yes, the dark romances, the dark mafia romance.
Yes, or dark paranormal romance.
Yeah.
Yes.
John and Stella Hunter did a Echo Power for me, which is starts out rather dark with the apocalypse happening.
How many books have you done so far?
A lot.
A lot?
Sometimes I have to go check my Amazon author page to see how many I've done.
That's a good thing. If you've done so many books that you can't even remember how many, that's
impressive.
Wonderful. That is, yes.
More than 60. I know that.
Wow, that's prolific.
Yeah.
This may be like picking children, but do you have a favorite series that you like, that you enjoyed writing?
Mm-hmm. That is a hard question.
It's hard.
As they're all so different.
Yeah.
I think.
But that you enjoyed, that felt good. I mean, I'm sure it always feels good, apart from the times when it feels bad writing. But
yeah, I know. I'd have to say the Undercover Elementals series, which is paranormal romance.
Mm-hmm.
I have the most fun with that because it's paranormal, and I can do things in a paranormal romance that I can't do in contemporary romance. Like have people's accents change halfway through the book. That doesn't really happen in real life. Unless they develop a severe mental problem. I don't know. But
yeah,
PNR is really fun that way.
I love PNR. That's one of my favorite genres to work in. I like urban
They're
fantasy.
so fun to play with as well, aren't they? Like to be able to play as a narrator. Yeah.
You get a lot more. You can push a little more with accents, with characterizations. They don't have to be so bounded in reality. It's nice. Or bound to reality.
You did 2 PNRs for me. The Reborn series about and then the 13th Fae, which was in the Cover Elemental series.
Those may have been the first books I did for you.
The Reborn ones? Yeah, I think they were.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so.
How many have you done? Erin, how many books have you done for Anna?
For Anna, I have, honestly, you can't ask me that question. I don't know. A lot. I've definitely.
I wrote it down here, actually.
Under a dozen. Because I was just looking at the projects that I've done. I think all the projects I've done for East House are all yours. I'm pretty sure. And I think there was under 10, like 8 or 9 or 10. Something like that.
I made a list because I knew I would forget.
Yeah.
The Reborn series, which was 4 novellas in the collection. And then Spellbound in a Kilt, which is in the Hot Scots
that one.
series.
Yep.
And the 13th Fae in the Undercover Elemental series. And now a Novel Secret. And then you're doing another one for me in the fall. Yep. How to Lose a Lass, which is a Hot Scots prequel novella. Yeah. So that's what, 5?
5, 6,
If you count all the 4 Reborn books and not the collection, then it would be even more.
Yes. Yeah.
It depends on how you add it up. Yeah. So you've done several.
Yeah, quite a bit. You always challenge me with the Gallic. You put those Gaelic phrases in there.
Oh my
the longer
goodness,
the phrase,
yeah.
the more I start sweating. When I see those phrases, when I'm prepping my book, I'm like...
Well, you should have seen the list of Gaelic phrases that I gave Shane for Banished in the Highlands, the time travel historical romance. Not yet.
That was one of my favorites. I had such a good time with we did that one last summer in September, I think. It was one of those time travel books. I'm pretty sure. Was that one of yours, or was that something else? I'm gonna feel really bad if it wasn't.
I've only had 2 time travel books, and
they were both done by Shane. Okay, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. They all all the Scottish stuff blends together.
13th Fae was one about the cursed leprechaun.
That was the
girlfriend, the cryptozoologist.
Yes, that was the one. Actually, that was it.
Right.
That wasn't last September though. That was before then. So
man, it was in the summer.
My years are all mixed up now.
The COVID years blend as well.
The COVID years all blend together. 2020, 2021, 2022. It's all like the same thing to me.
Yeah, it is.
Looking here to see if there are any questions.
Yeah, me too.
Comments, but I think lots of great comments.
Look.
Does anybody have questions?
You're getting everybody wanting to read all of these books that you're mentioning.
Well, that's always great.
Adding to the TBR. There we go.
Yes. That's always what an author wants to hear. Is that people want to read the books. And in fact, one of my books is 2 of my books are on sale now, the audiobook and the ebook versions of the first 2 crossover books. Brit versus Scott and the American Wives Club are both discounted.
Ooh, that's a great time to jump in. Do it.
If you want the audiobook, it's on Chirp, Barnes and Noble, Apple Books.
Oh, so you went wide.
That's where it's discounted. It's discounted in yeah. I'm wide in ebooks, audiobooks, paperbacks, everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
So does your stuff end up on Hoopla too at the libraries? Because I know a lot of you.
Hoopla is curated, so you never know for sure which ones they'll take and which ones they won't. It just kind of depends. I don't know if readers can suggest things to them or not. I don't know how that works. I only know how it works from the author end of things.
All right.
But they're everywhere else on all the other, a whole bunch of other, audiobook sites. So you get them pretty much any place you want.
Yeah. That's nice. Oh, question. Where did the idea of a novel secret come from? Was it an idea you wanted to do for a while, or a spontaneous new idea that just demanded to be written?
Well, I wanted to do another crossover book because I really have so much fun writing those books. They're wild and wacky and just lots of fun to write. So I'm gotta do another one. But what can I do to make this different? Because I don't like every book to be the same.
Yeah.
And I don't like to get in a rut. If I do that, if I feel like I'm getting in a rut, I got to do something different.
Yeah.
So with this 3rd crossover book, I was thinking about it. I think, well, I've never had a main character who was a writer. I've had ones who were librarians, and I'm a librarian too in my other life. And so I thought, well, it's about time I had one who's a writer and a romance writer. But didn't want to do the stereotype of a woman romance author because everybody thinks of romance, they think of women writing them. Well, what if he's a man but he's embarrassed to admit that he loves writing steamy romance novels, so he uses a female pseudonym, and then he doesn't want to tell anybody about that.
Brilliant name as well. Brilliant pseudonym.
Yeah. Well, yes, I think I mentioned it in the blurb of the book, so it's not exactly a secret, but his pseudonym is Desiree LaChance.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I just shouted that out, not even knowing.
No, it's not a secret anyway. I've told everyone that.
It's a brilliant pseudonym.
Yeah.
And actually, the names of the 2 main characters, the hero and the heroine, I got some of their names from a contest I ran in my Facebook group, Anna's Romance.
Oh, really?
And I said, just for something fun to do for everybody, I said, help me come up with names for these characters. The hero needs a first name and he needs a pseudonym. So, give me your suggestions and I'll pick the ones I like the best. And
that's great.
So I picked these 2, and Zigbold chose Owen as the first name, and Philippa, I can't remember her last name. I think Atwood. I talk to her all the time in email because she's on my art team. Now I can't remember her last name. But Philippa suggested Desiree for the first name, pseudonym first name. And so I picked that, and they both got signed books in exchange for that. And I really liked the names that they suggested. So he became Owen Metzger, who is also Desiree LaChance. And then the heroine is Poppy Goodburn. I came up with that name.
I love Poppy. That was such a great name. That was very British.
Yes, that's why I
picked
it.
Suits her. It suits her. It really suited her. I felt she was great.
Yeah, I wanted her to have a sweet, cute, very British sounding name.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. What was the rest of that question? No, I'm kind of lost.
I think it's a comment.
Oh, a comment. Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to be Poppy. I was like, that sounds like the best job ever.
Doesn't it? To just work in a cool bookstore? I've had this dream since I was really young to have a bookstore, coffee shop, toy store. What else was it? And like a hobby shop game store, like a tabletop game store, all mixed into one. And I was like, man, that will never take off. Never.
No, it would. I'd go. We have to set it up together. I want to have a bookstore downstairs and a cocktail bar upstairs.
That's a good idea. Yeah, like a speakeasy, like a read easy.
Yeah, a read easy.
Fun place. Sounds perfect. Yeah. So, Evelyn, what was your experience like narrating this book and becoming Poppy?
Oh, I loved it. Like I say, I found it when I was prepping the book, I was like, this is gonna be easy because I get her. I feel like I am her sometimes, most of the time. It was really, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed her take on things. I also like the fact that she was not all sweetness and light all the time. She's pretty, she's got some balls.
She can get tough when she needs to.
Yeah, she can take control.
And Aaron, how about your experiences being Owen?
It was fantastic. I love how I wasn't sure, like when I first did my prep, I wasn't sure if I almost emailed Shane to figure out exactly what style of book this was, because I was feeling serious rom-com vibes, like a ton of it. And I love like rom-coms, but I didn't want to push that with my narration because it's kind of a different narrative feel when you read rom-com versus contemporary versus something a little more steamy. But when I finished the book, I was like, man, this definitely has rom-com vibes. So I kind of made a strong choice as to how I was going to portray my character as kind of a, he's a hot romance author, but he's also kind of, he's a little, what's the right word? I'm not going to think of it right now because I'm on the spot. He's a hot guy, but he's also kind of a character-y guy too. Yeah. So I gave him some dynamics.
He's gentler, isn't he?
He's gentler, but he's insecure about a couple things, but not too much. He's secure about sex because he writes about it. He's definitely all this stuff goes through his is all in his mind, and he has an outlet for that. But he's also just a funny kind of carefree, but he's a carefree guy. And that was the route that I took, and I felt that it worked really well. I hope you love it.
I'm sure I will.
But I did give him a little bit more funny than I would inside of a more serious contemporary romance. Because I got some really great rom-com vibes from it. So
that's one thing that I thought was brilliant about your writing, Anna, was that those characters were so well-rounded.
Yeah.
They weren't just two-dimensional. You could really delve in and create these, like Aaron said, a whole big character for them. Like you had all the material there that we could use.
And especially when you brought in the Scots later in the book. I'm not going to tell anything else about it. But it got even funnier. And I was like, oh, this is totally like, was it supposed to be a rom-com or was that inadvertently? It was. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. Then I made some good, strong acting choices and they weren't horrible. That was what I felt inside when I was reading it.
You got
it was a good book. There were a lot of really good funny moments, and I really hope that I pushed those. I took those moments and did them justice, because there was some great snappy dialogue. There was some funny reactions to what other people were saying that it was good. It was great.
Yeah, it was. It was fun to do.
Well, I can tell you, in the 13th Fae, you cracked me up the whole time I was trying to listen to it, for, if there were any mistakes. I'm like, I have to back up again because I was laughing so much. Yeah. So I'm sure that will be the case this time, too.
Yes. I cracked up a few times. There were a couple of scenes where I left it in there because, anytime it says he chuckles or he reacted in a certain way, I just kind of left that stuff in there. And if it came back in QC, you redo it, you take it out. But still, I thought some genuine laughter, some genuine kind of, chuffs and that kind of stuff was necessary.
Yeah.
So it was good fun. It was good fun. I love rom-coms. They're light. Yeah.
Someone's asking, does this mean Aaron is going to join the trend of narrator turned romance author?
I am. I'm working on one right now. I'm working on 3 books right now.
Hey.
One is romance, one is urban fantasy, and the other is, I guess, just fantasy. I guess.
Oh, cool.
I'm not sure exactly where that one's going.
My goodness. 3 whips? How?
It's because I get stuck on a book and I have to set it aside for a little while, but then I get another idea that I have to get down, and that's how you start working on multiple books. I don't know if it's the same for you, Anna. That's how it works.
Well, I've been a published author for 20 years now, so I kind of have developed a different process because of just doing it for so long.
Yeah.
And like 5 years or so ago, I decided to just write every day, even if it's just one paragraph. And that made it so I could write faster. Yep. And I didn't have as many mistakes. I didn't need as much editing after it was done. So, yeah, I do one book, then I go to the next book and the next book. But that's why, because I've developed this process over the years.
Yeah.
So every author has to have their own way of doing things. Yeah. Whatever works for you.
Yeah. Somebody gave me the advice of just put in 30 minutes a day at the very least. That's not the most, but at the least put your sit down in front of the computer or in front of whatever your pad, whatever, and think about writing, or actually write for 30 minutes a day. And usually some days you might have bad days where you only do the 30 and you're just not feeling it that day. But other days you'll push, and 2 to 3 hours pass by and you get 2,000, 3,000 words. And that's a brilliant writing day. And then the next day you do the same. Yeah, so just 30 minutes a day is all it takes to write a book.
I like that advice. I have a whip that's been sitting in Scrivener for a couple of years that I keep looking at and going, oh, no, I can't.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to dive in.
I know. Yeah.
And then you kind of get the pace of it.
Yeah. So do you outline your books, or are you more of a pantsy kind of writer?
I'm like Owen in this book.
Okay.
I'm a pantser, not a plotter.
Okay.
I've done the whole outline the whole thing and all that stuff, and write character sketches, detailed things for everybody.
Yeah.
No, that's just not how my brain works.
Yeah. I'm kind of like an in-betweener. I scripts, any like TV style scripts or like animation scripts, I'm a complete outliner, just because I have to know where I'm going. I have to hit all the beats by certain page markers. It's just how scripts work. When you hand out scripts, they'll flip to those pages and see if your plots are in order, so to speak. But as far as like book type stuff, I'm more of a pantsy kind of person, and that's why I end up getting myself into these little writer holes where I'm like, I write myself into a corner, and then it takes me a little bit to get myself back out.
Yeah, well, that's just something that comes with practice. The longer you do it, the easier
it is. Yeah, that's what Stephen King says.
Well, it must be right if I.
It must be right. Yeah.
King. Let's see here. And I was going to ask you guys, how do you feel about accents? My audiobooks tend to have lots of accents, so I'm curious.
I'm going to let Evelyn start this.
Damn that Anna. These accents.
I love all the accents. I love all the character voices. I love all the accents, as long as it's an accent that I can do. I don't mind learning new ones, though. I'm quite a chameleon, I think, but I love all of the UK regional accents. They're brilliant. There's so many of them. So I always find it really fun when you can kind of play with those and showcase those. I like that.
How do you like doing American?
I've done a whole book in an American accent before.
Really?
It was hard. Yeah, I did it.
Which American accent did you do? Did you pick
general.
like a Midwesty kind of?
Just kind of just a general American. It wasn't, and but I mean, it took me slightly longer because I needed to check lots of stuff.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it's good. And so if it's a character that I like, it's that's slightly easier than it's not slightly, it's much easier than doing a whole book.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can do that.
Marion Hussey is British too, but she does a really great American accent. In fact, she did a Hot Scots book for me last summer.
I was gonna say that's
American the whole time.
I think that was the author that I was thinking about when I mistaked her book for yours, because I've done at least one of her books, and it was similar. I think it was The Highlander Secret or something like that. It was a time travel book.
Marion's done a lot of audiobooks, and she's one of my favorites, so I keep coming back to my books. Yeah. So, Aaron, how do you feel about accents?
I love accents. I am completely in love with the human voice. So anytime I travel or anytime I'm watching TV or movies, I sit there and I absorb everybody's voices, all the American voices, but I'm really in love with the British Isles stuff, South African voices, Australian, Irish.
Oh, South African. Can you do a good South African? Because I find that so
I did an
hard.
entire book in South Africa.
You? Yeah, I am so impressed.
Yeah, and I got a lot of...
For Amy, yeah.
Yeah. It's very challenging, which I think that's why I like it so much.
I can't do it. I try so hard. All I can say is...
You got to hit it. You just got to learn all the vowels. The vowels
I can only say like vibranium. From Black Panther,
in South Africa, yes.
Yeah, that's all I can say.
You got to. It's like a weird mixture between British and Australian and Kiwi. There's a.
It's Kiwi. Very Kiwi. It's very Kiwi,
and
when
Kiwi
you meet
vowels
people,
in there.
because the Kiwis get their I's and the E's are opposite, aren't they?
Yep.
So yeah,
you got to get that it down. Oh, it's like this.
Yeah. You do the Australian, then you just switch the vowels, and then you're kind of there.
Yeah.
I could do an Australian, but again, like New Zealand, that's very specific. I find that harder.
Yeah.
But South African, I can't
you just gotta do it. You gotta dive into it.
Very, very well. No, I can't do it. I can't. I can say that, and then it does. Then I lose it.
It's more difficult. I try to explain this to people. It's one thing to do impressions, and then it's a whole other thing to actually read text that isn't anything that you've ever heard before. So you don't have any reference. You have to build it in your own mind. So you have to go through and you have to learn the vowel structure of the accent and figure out exactly how every word is going to be formed as you're speaking it. But you got to do it all on the fly, because you don't get a chance to. It's not like a movie where you memorize all your lines and you get time to sit there with all the dialogue and you get to really hone it. You get a prep read and then you get your record. And there's no other time to do anything else. Yeah,
that's true. And that's really true actually about, there are so many accents that I thought that I could do because I had my little snippets of things that I could do for people, in the pub or at the bar or something. But then you actually have to read text that you've never said those words together. You've never said
totally different. Yeah,
it's
that's exactly
totally different. And you're like, oh, I need to work harder on this.
Yeah. I just did a huge audition for a sci-fi cartoon. It was the biggest audition that I've done so far. And it was for a major character in a very popular TV series. And I've done the impressions of the character since I started watching the show, which was 2011, I think, or 2012, or 2013, I think. But now I had to go through and I had to do, I think it was 12 pages of dialogue. Wow. I had to record and submit, and it was hard to stay inside this character. It's a very specific character, and they were looking for an exact match because the person doing the voiceover for this character was fired, and they were replacing it for another couple of seasons. So it was, man, it like stretched some muscles up in my brain trying to do that.
Okay, we have another question from the audience here for both of you. How do you keep up on the accent from day to day so that each time or each day it's the same?
It gets stuck in your brain. The best way that I found to learn an accent thoroughly is, like we just talked about, read an entire book in it. Like South African is permanently embedded in my brain. So is Irish, so is Scottish. I got a couple of different British accents that I do, like some Southern, like some like Cornwall, which is a different kind of British accent.
Oh, it's so
when you
weird.
get into like Devon.
Yeah,
when you're in
the
like
West
Devon.
Country. Yeah,
well, that's, you got a lot of Welsh kind of mixed in there in that West. Australian, because these are all books that I've done significant amounts of accent work in. So it's just in your brain. And my wife tells me, I do this all the time. I don't just do this when I'm sitting in a box. I do this all the time. Like just when I'm in my house bored, I'll just start going in characters. I'll talk to my dogs that way. I'll talk to people that way. When I'm out and about ordering coffee, I'll throw on an Irish accent, hello, let me get a venti latte, and I'll do that. I'll mess with people. That's just who I am.
I do that too. And also, if you're doing a whole book, so when I did that entire book in an American accent, I basically, I just sort of was American for like a week. And I'd forget how to say words in an English accent. I'm like, no, hang on a minute. Like, that's not, and people would be like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing a whole book in an American accent. They're like, okay, because you sound weird. Like, I'd be somewhere when I'd come out of the booth and go and hang out with mates, they'd be like, what are you doing? Like, you're still talking in American accent. Like, it's hard to get out of it. Well, when you're in the book, I kind of just carry, especially if the whole book is in an accent, I just sort of kind of carry on doing it, whether intentionally or not, for when I'm outside of the booth. Also, I think the thing that's important with audiobooks is, especially for the main characters, it's not really an accent. I don't think of it so much as that's the person, you're being that person right now. So that helps with the accent, because they would say it this way, and I'm thinking more about them as a person than the accent. It kind of helps a bit.
Yeah, you characterize it. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Let's see.
That's the only way it works. There's one question here. Whoops, I think we missed it, by Leanne. Other than books and audiobooks, what is your favorite form of art to watch, see, hear? And do you create other types of art yourself?
Ooh. Go on, you go first, Aaron.
Me? Want me to go first? I do a ton of different art. I sculpt, I paint, I write, I draw. In a past life, I was a video editor and a film editor, and not so much film for commercial stuff. And I was a 2D animator and motion graphics artist and a designer. So art has always been, since I was a little kid, art has always been a thing that I was into. I hated science. I didn't like math. I loved English. Absolutely adored English. I got top marks in English all throughout, and everything else was just boring to me. So I just wouldn't do the work. So I did horrible in everything else. But my English teacher loved me when I was, how old was I? 7th grade, so I was 12. My English teacher, I mean, we were doing real basic books back then, like book reports is what they called them. I did book essays. I did a 30-page synopsis or my opinion on what the book that I read. And my teacher realized this, and so she had me doing very complex books, like To Kill a Mockingbird, or Stephen King books, like The Stand was one of the books I read when I was, I think, 12 or 13, which was a very adult, very, very, it was like a horror novel, but it was massive. It was over 1,200 pages. I think it was the big unabridged version, or the thick one, before they edited down. So yeah, I do lots of different types of art. Anything creative. Music, I used to do a lot more music. That's waned out because I don't have a lot of friends that are into that. So music is kind of taken a backseat. But I've got all my guitars here, my piano, my bass, all that stuff. So art is definitely a huge part of my life.
Okay. Evelyn, did you want to?
Yeah,
too?
I love the theatre. That's how I started out. I was in theatre for a few years, and I love going to the theatre. I like watching, like during COVID, I got myself the National Theatre subscription so that I could watch theatre on TV because when you couldn't go to theatre anymore. And Hamilton came out on the Disney Channel, didn't it, during those COVID years? So I'd watch that like over and over and learn the songs, have it playing in the car, teach my kids the songs.
Yeah.
I love the theatre. That's I guess my main kind of art form. I don't have a musical ear. I enjoy music, and I used to play the piano and the flute when I was younger because I had to, because I'm from a musical family. My grandparents met at the Royal Academy of Music in London, and my grandfather was a famous Indian jazz composer and musician, and I did not get that gene. My brother did. He's a wonderful guitar player and singer, but I can sing, but I'm more of a theatre person, and then English was my favorite subject too, and I always loved it when you got a teacher who would teach you, like you'd put plays on, or you get to read the plays like it was a theatre performance. That's when I knew that I was really a theatre geek, because I was like, can we read The Wind in the Willows like it's a play?
That was one of my favorite moments in class, was whenever we did you would read out loud. You would read books out loud. Even though when I was a kid, I had a horrendous stutter, and the only time that I was able to kind of get past that was during those even though it was in front of the class and I was always super nervous, just diving into the stories. When it came my turn, it was like so exciting to do the character voices. That was what I liked the most about it when I was a kid, because I watched a lot of cartoons back then. We didn't have I didn't have a theater program in my high school, which is, I probably would have heavily veered in that direction if it had been there, but it was all sports in my high school. We had the trifecta. We had baseball, basketball, and football. So it was a sports high school. So there wasn't a big art program. There wasn't a big there was no like theater program, so I missed out on that.
That's a shame.
And I didn't get into it after. Because I think, especially now with how I look at things and how much I was into movies, I think I would have drifted heavily into theater and been a total geek about it. Guarantee that would have happened.
Thank you, Cynthia. That's really that's lovely. Thank you.
Cynthia says, now it's gone. I was going to read it for everybody. Now it's back. That would be our moderator, Susie, doing this for us. So acting is your forte, Evelyn. It makes you an amazing narrator.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a very sweet thing to say. So I thought that should be public for everyone to hear. And
do your dogs have a favorite instrument?
Favorite instrument? Whose dogs? I have dogs. I think.
I have dogs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have a big Irish Wolfhound, and I have a a wiener dog.
Really? Little and large?
Yeah, I have big and small. Yeah, I have a 12 ball. He's 13 pounds. He's a little heavy. 13-pound wiener dog, and he's about 130 pounds now. Irish Wolfhound. He's a big boy. He's not very big. He's actually very thin. He's just really tall. He comes up.
I love Irish Wolfhounds. Yeah, they're so cool. They have two dogs. It's like a Harry Potter dog.
My dogs are basically mutts. Two girls.
Oh, are they?
They're mutts. One's smaller, the other's big.
Do you know what their mix is? Do you know what their mix is?
They're supposed to be equal parts Dalmatian, German Shepherd, Dachshund, and Border Collie.
Ooh.
Oh, cool.
So the bigger one, she has all the Dalmatian spots, and the little one has like that Dachshund body and Border Collie face. Which is,
that's interesting.
That's a fun mix.
It's kind of an unusual mix, but they're very pretty.
Yeah. I have a Labrador puppy who's 11 months old.
Oh,
awesome. Puppies are the cutest.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else in the
How do you switch accents when you're playing two characters in dialogue with different accents? Can you go right from one to the other, or do you pause in between? I go right from one to the other.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, you take a natural pause. There's like a natural conversational pause. Like you'll notice it's not too long. It's just a second. It's very natural.
A breath. Yeah, like in a conversation.
You take a breath and you let your mind switch. Everyone has the capability to do this. Everybody has their own different sets of personalities, just like the same way that we switch accents and switch characters when we're like reading a book. When you go to work, you have a work personality. When you come home, you have a different personality. You have a different personality with your spouse, with your kids. It's like you bounce between all these different roles in your own head and you don't even realize it. You talk to your kids one way, you talk to your husband or your wife a different way, and you do this on the fly. It's the same thing with doing these characters. It's just a little bit more technicality to it because there's accents involved, so your brain is working a little harder, but it's
working really hard.
Yeah.
And also but again, that point of thinking about who these people are, their characters, rather than the accent, that always helps with dialogue. But I don't know about you, Aaron, but I do sometimes mess up.
Oh, I mess up all the time.
Yeah.
It's never a perfect
slip
experience.
into the wrong accent. Also, there are so many accents that are very similar. Yeah. Like the Welsh accent can sometimes turn into an Indian accent. So like, where did that come from? And actually, I can't really do a South African accent, but apparently I can do one when I'm trying to do a Swedish accent.
Swedish is actually really, it's actually a pretty difficult accent because it's so stiff.
It's so stiff. And I found that I was recording some dialogue and I was like, wow, I can really do a South African accent. Wasn't trying to. I was really trying to do a Swedish accent. Yeah. Somehow it drifted. So you have to concentrate.
It just takes time and practice. Yeah. There's time and practice, and you get used to it. It's like it's honestly like any other job. Once you do it enough, it becomes ingrained inside of you, and it's like Anna and her writing. She knows how to write really fast. Just took some practice.
Yeah, there was another question here I thought might be interesting for you guys to answer. It says, when you know you will do a series, do you save clips for reference? Now, I think Shane does that for my audiobooks, but
we have it's called a voice bank.
When you're doing audiobooks for other companies, do you save clips?
Yep. Always have a voice bank. I love how Shane does it and that he has that voice bank available for everybody. I create a voice bank for every book that I do, even if it's not a series, because you never know. The author might be like, actually, I want to write another book, or like you do with the crossovers. Have a book that just happens to mention these other characters. I had another author that I was working with that did that quite a bit, and I had my own voice bank. Thank goodness, because she would write books that weren't in a series, but they would just reference other characters, or other characters would just pop in.
Yes.
For the book.
One line.
You're like, a voice bank is essential.
Yeah. So Aaron, you do the same thing.
Oh yeah, every single book. You have to, especially with a series, because when I might read one book, like a lot of the sci-fi and fantasy stuff that I do, I only read one book per series per year. So there's no way I do over 100 books a year. So there's no way to remember or memorize every character in a book. So you have to go back when, like, I did book 1 a year ago, book 2 comes up. You have to remember all those accents. So I open up that folder and it's like, oh man, there were 40 characters in that book. Yeah. So if you don't do that, you have to go back when you get to the second book. You have to go back. If you didn't do it, you have to go back to the first book and crawl through the entirety of the book and find every character that you're finding inside the second book and make voice clips anyway. So you should just do it the first time while you're in the mix,
you're doing it.
Yeah. Whilst.
I realized that apparently that's too old now, and we're moving forward, and you should always use while. But I love whilst.
Keep whilst.
Wonderful. I use it in the Hot Brits series all the time. Yeah. I like it.
I love it. I'm like, British. Why would I just say while? Yeah. No. Whilst. When it's necessary, whilst, yes. I did learn that the hard way, and in the first couple of books that I narrated when I was just starting out,
Everyone
had to trawl through those books, and that was hard.
I think every narrator does that once, and I think the one time is enough to teach you the lesson, especially if it's a long book, and if you're just, it's to find 2 seconds of dialogue inside of an 8-hour project is a mission.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here I got another question for you guys. This from Susie and her friends who came up with some questions for me because I wasn't sure I could come up with enough. Anyway, they came up with some nice ones here. So, do you enjoy getting to experience some of the flavor of other countries other than your home country through audiobooks?
Absolutely. I love traveling. I haven't done as much of it as I'd like to. But I've been to Ireland twice. I've been to England. I've been all over the U.S. when I was a kid. I did a lot of traveling when I was a kid, and I've lived in different places. But yeah, it's great to. I mean, sometimes the books are always more challenging, but they're so much more fun.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Especially if the author is really, really into it. If an author isn't, if they're just kind of choosing a location at random, sometimes you can kind of feel it in the story. But when an author is truly into it and they research it and they're writing from the perspective of being there, it's like you're taking a trip.
Yeah. Especially when it's places that you know or that you have been to once and you kind of feel like you're there again. If an author manages to get that essence of a place, then it's amazing.
I'm obsessed with Turkey and Casablanca, and any book that I read that is set there by an author that's been there and has researched it. It's like taking a trip on your own. Like you get the sights and the smells, and it's all in your head. But it's even better almost because when you get there, it's like you don't have to deal with all the awful travel. You don't have to deal with the downside of there's no downside to reading a book and just imagining how amazing it is.
Yeah, and I think that's the magic of audiobooks as well. Like I always felt like when you're reading a book, I'm always there. Like if anybody tries to talk to me and I'm reading a book, I can't hear them. Because I'm there. And I think the audiobooks have that as well. It's like a whole blanket around you.
Yeah.
And you get all of the senses, the sights, the smells, and it may be even more so than reading, I don't know, or just very different. Like they're different experiences, but both wonderful. Yeah.
I love writing about places I've never been and places I've been. My dad was in the Air Force, so I grew up going to all sorts of different places in the U.S. So some of my books have the Mojave Desert in them because we lived there for a while.
Oh, really?
And Alaska, lived there.
Alaska.
But I also like to just research these places, and with like all the maps you can look up on it, like 3D, the actual topography and what's up there. It's like fun. I'm like, oh, well, I want to go there someday, but for now, I'll settle for writing it in a book.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much. Yeah, like with the internet. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. It's especially true with Natural Obsession, which is the naughty nudist book in the South Pacific. I want
to read that.
I felt like I was actually there because I did so much research. I was looking at so many videos and pictures and everything of it. It was I was on an adventure with the characters too.
Yeah. I guess that's fun, isn't it? Like it's not just us narrators that when we're reading it kind of feel transported. As an author, you're transported as you're writing and creating it too.
And hopefully I've transported the readers too.
Well, you definitely transported me.
Yes, you do a great job of it, actually. Yeah, you do a fantastic job.
Thank you.
You started talking about the pitch. I'm not going to tell anybody what that actually means, but there was a pitch in A Novel Secret, and I could imagine this whole. I imagine this entire location in my head. I had the entirety of it. I was like, oh, this is so gorgeous. I so need to go visit this place. Is it even real?
Well, the location where that happens in this book is not real.
Okay,
it's in the real country.
It was in my head, so it's good enough.
I've learned about sports. I'm not a real sports enthusiast.
Me neither.
One Hot Favorite, which is in the Hot Brits series, I had a cricket match. So I learned all about cricket, which was actually very interesting. Now I might actually want to go watch a cricket game.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was so exciting and violent.
Yeah, I have to say you did a fantastic job. I pictured everything in my head. It was all laid out for me. It was great.
So let's see. Any other?
We have a question here.
I think we got a few more minutes here. Okay, so Aaron, did you want to this question you're talking about. It's on the screen.
Which do I prefer?
Cynthia wants to, yeah.
Duet or chapter from Cynthia? I prefer duet if it's written. If it's written, if they take out a lot of the, if they let the dialogue bounce back and forth, it's fantastic. Duet is wonderful because it's acting and it's like theater work. You get to work with somebody else. If it's live, if we're recording duet separately, it's still fun. It's not as much fun. I would prefer to do dual, so I have my own chapters and I can bounce my own characters back and forth instead of. It's a little bit more work when you have to imagine how the other person is gonna react if we're not doing it live. But it works, especially if you work with somebody that you work with a bunch, or somebody that you've listened to narrate. So I've done a lot of books with Stella Hunter, so I know exactly how she's gonna. In my head, I can hear her responses. I can feel what she's doing with her part of the book. So if we're not recording together, we can still make it. We still make it happen. It's still snappy and it sounds fantastic, and it comes out. It's brilliant. When we're together live, it's even better. There's a couple of other actors that I've worked with. I know their style and their pacing so well that they don't have to be in the same room with me. I can picture it in my head, kind of like the same way that I pictured the location that we were just talking about with the pitch. But I prefer working with other actors. I should really get back I should really get into theater. We don't have. There's some theater here, like where I am, but it's all traveling theater. But there are some smaller places. I should really get into it. I would really enjoy that. But
it's fun.
I'm so busy.
Well, I got one last.
Well, yeah, 100 books a year.
100 books a year, yeah. Over 500 now.
That's 500 amazing.
Books. I started slow. Most of the books that I've recorded have been in the past 3 years.
I cannot do that. 100 books a year. Wow.
Well, you have children, so I don't even know how you can be a narrator with children. I have no children.
It's quite hard.
Hats off to you.
Okay. Well, how about one last question?
Sure.
Is there a particular word that gives you a lot of trouble?
Mm-hmm. Sure is. Particular words.
Yeah, multiple words. Have you had a recent one?
Yeah. I've got recent ones. I got a bunch of them. Stupid words. Rasp, grasp, slither. Slither is really, really hard for me. That activates whatever it is in my mouth and my body that created my stutter when I was a child. What else was I just stumbling over? And I wrote the damn word because I wrote a script and I recorded it for somebody and I shipped it out to be animated. And I should have known not to use this word. What the hell was that damn word? Grasped. Anything with like a DED, like a past tense that ended is a word. Ended, or anything like responded. When you get tired after about 2 hours of recording, your mouth gets tired, your tongue gets tired. Those words in particular, your tongue just kind of sticks. They're called taps. Whenever you tap your tongue in your teeth or the upper part of your mouth, when your tongue gets tired, it doesn't want to tap real quick. So you go responded, responded, or rasped.
Yeah.
So those are my words that I hate. When I see them coming up or when I'm prepping, highlight that word and I'm like, that's gonna be 3 takes at least.
Yeah, mine are the TR, multiple words with TR in a sentence together. That often trips me up. I had one the other day. I had to say legislative, and legislative. Yeah, but it was next to other words that had similar, like tongue mouth movements. And if you've got multiple words with the similar tongue placement, I find that really hard, and legislature was particularly difficult. But somebody said, because I posted something on TikTok, somebody said if I said it in an American accent, it wouldn't be so difficult. But obviously I couldn't do that. But how do you say legislative in an American
legislative? I don't know. I've never heard that word. But I know if you have issues trying to say
legislative, that's why, because Americans say legislative, and it's different. It's not so front of mouth.
Anyway.
I
remember what it was. One of the big things for me are 3 W's back to back. while we were, stuff like that. Anything that goes blah, 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 your mouth just gets so confused. When you're, it's fine to say it right now, while we were, but when you put it inside of a sentence with a lot of other sounds and your mouth is doing all this work, when you get to the blah, 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 you go,
you're like,
so okay, take 9, take 10. Oh, thank you, Cynthia, darling. Yeah, I got some darlings. My darling always comes out as Southern because I grew up in the South, and I've lived in Tennessee and Texas and Arizona, and there's a lot of South going on in them states.
So I lived in the South for a long time. Mississippi and Texas.
Mississippi got a different kind of accent. Yeah. Mississippi. Louisiana's got a different kind of accent. Louisiana. Texas, it's got a different kind of Texas Southern accent.
Yep.
A lot of 10s and 20s.
Yeah, I lived in Texas for 15 years. I got used to that.
Yeah.
All the cows. All in the cows. And it was oil.
Oil and cows. Oil and cattle. Yeah. Them's for slaughter.
Slaughter.
What?
Well, we've just about come to the end of our hour. It was really great chatting.
This was fun. Yeah.
It was lots of fun. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, and let's just let everyone know a novel secret in ebook and paperback releases on Monday. Wednesday, I get the audio files, so it won't be too long after that.
Yay!
The audiobook comes out. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and I hope you had fun. And have a good Saturday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Darlings.